Welcome into DRF Daily Racing Form, DRF Sports's. We ev all of a sudden all sorts of off of it. DRF Sports's sports betting live stream that's coming at you every weekday. I'll say at around 11 a.m. Yesterday we came in at noon. Today it's 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, bringing you all of the best bets of action. It's been a rough week. I can't sugarcoat that. We had a solid Tuesday, Wednesday, a bad Monday, and we're coming off of a fantastic 0-4 day. Just a really bad day. You know, the Astros, I thought they were going to be my saving grace. And then they allowed 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth to let the Yankees win that game last night. So the Astros lost, Padres lost, Cardinals lost, and the White Sox lost. So a tough Thursday of bets, but we're back. We're better than ever. We have Max Sacco on today. We're going to be bringing him on to talk all things Premier Lacrosse League. We had Kevin Boylard on last week. His best bet didn't hit, so hopefully Max can give us some best bets that will result in our pockets getting a little bit bigger. So we welcome in Max now to talk all things PLL. How you doing today, Max?
Doing great. Got the official PLL shirt. Was able to catch it last week when it stopped by Long Island. Electric Factory, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you have to go watch it. Electric Factory to see live.
Everything lacrosse. I've been to only a few lacrosse games in my life. All of them have been Electric Factories. Between whether it's like high school or college, whatever it is, lacrosse, you really get into it, even if you don't know the sport.
Just because people around you are getting excited. Like when I didn't know it that well, and I started watching like Hofstra lacrosse, way back, like my freshman year of college. I came from the Midwest. I didn't know it. I started watching it. I was like, this is like hockey on grass.
It really is. Yeah. Well, you come from the you're a White Sox fan, right?
I'm a big White Sox fan. So tough.
Before we get into PLL talk, what happened yesterday? 4-0 loss to the Orioles, man.
I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to keep it like less than 5 words. Fire Tony La Russa. So 3 words.
That's completely fair. I still can't get over him intentionally walking someone while he's up 1-2 in the count. But we'll save MLB talk for another day. We'll break it down into PLL. So Redwoods take on Whip Snakes, Chaos take on the Water Dogs, Cannons take on the Chrome, and Archers take on the Atlas. Last week, Atlas got handed their first loss of the year. I know you were really high on the Atlas. Kevin Boylard was really high on the Atlas, which made me, in turn, really high on the Atlas, of course. And then they lost. But we'll break down some of these games. Which game do you have circled on the calendar today? Not necessarily for the best bets, not even today, for this whole weekend. Not necessarily best bet-wise, but just you think it's going to be a really good product on the field.
Actually, the game that I have circled is probably the game nobody else has circled, but that is the Chaos versus the Water Dogs and the 2 0-3 teams. I think if you look at where the schedule lies this week, it's the most kind of parity game, and it's probably the easiest game to bet just looking around at who's playing. I mean, we'll break it down a little bit here. We'll start to go into it. Chaos and Water Dogs. Water Dogs are just the chokers of the year this year. I was able to watch that live. They have had 2 games this year out of a 3. We're on week 4. So 2 out of the 3 games, they've been up entering the 4th quarter by 3 or more goals. Both of those games they've lost. They lost week 1 against the Whip Snakes. They then lost last week against the I forgot who I'm blanking on the name. Apologies.
Redwoods.
They lost last week.
That's all the names I have in my Rolodex of names.
It's all good, but same thing. Water Dogs this year have not been able to play just a full 60-minute game. They're playing a great 50 and then an awful 10. And that awful 10 is completely undoing all the progress they made up until that point. Now, you look at the other side with the Chaos, they're just having a rough start to the season, some bad matchups. They're losing by about 5 or 6 each game. So entering this game, you see Water Dogs line come out as the underdog at plus 115. Water Dogs have Kieran McArdle, who was one of the top players in the league last year. He's a top 10 scorer this year. You have Kieran McArdle in your front, and you're just playing a full 50. It's not like they're getting blown out like Chaos. Chaos is getting blown out each of their games by 5 or more. They're keeping it close, and one of them they lost by 1, I believe, to the Whips. But other than that, it's been just bad results for Chaos overall. So Water Dogs plus 115 line, you have the better offense, and you're playing better games as a whole. You're just losing it right at the end there. But in 2 0-3 teams desperate for a win in Maryland, a very lacrosse heavy state, maybe not as big as Long Island,
Yeah.
but still a pretty big lacrosse hotbed in the country. Water Dogs plus 115 is free cash, and I'm surprised the line was even shifted to not favor them.
Wow, you say free cash. So I'm really then excited. We'll talk. I guess we'll go right into it now. If you say that's free cash and you make best bet of this week, you can catch all of Mac's great articles for the PLL breakdown over at drf.com/sports. And he has a weekly breakdown. He did week 2, week 3, and now heading into week 4. You say that's free cash with the Water Dogs, but you made your best bet Archer's money line at -113. So is that even more free money we're talking about?
It came down to that or the Water Dogs bet, honestly.
Okay.
Man, I'll be honest. Last week I went 2-4. The week before I went 1-4, and I was like, do I take technically a little bit of a riskier pick here and just kind of, see what happens, or do I just pick the more safe bet? I chose Archers, picking it for the same reason. Atlas is coming off their first loss, and they look sluggish against the Whip Snakes. The Whip Snakes played really a not good 5 minutes in the opening, and then after that, it was all Whip Snakes. The Whip Snakes just controlled the game. Atlas just looked sluggish. You look at Archers now, a different team. What does Archers have? The top scorer, the top assister. They have a tie for the top goalie in the league. They have They have one of the top 2-point shot guys. Archers have literally 3 top 10 goal scorers, 5 within the top 20. They have the most efficient power play with a 60% conversion rate. And you're facing a team that just came off their first loss, and you have right now a white-hot offense. I mean, it's hard to bet against the Archers. Water Dogs is a fun bet. I really think that's one of the best bets, but I think Archer's just solely looking at the offense they produce. They're the classic example of a lacrosse team that, hey, the defense, a little spotty at times, we can just outshoot you. And actually, you can't even say that. They have one of the top ground ball guys in the league with Trevor Baptiste as well. So really, all the chips in the Archers' favor this week in Baltimore against Atlas.
It's funny how different a week is in the PLL, because just last week it seemed like the Atlas were like the clear-cut favorites, the early favorites to win the championship, and everyone was on them, and then they lose, and now all of a sudden they're staring 500 in the face, it seems, against the Archers, who are favored, and now all of a sudden the Atlas are underdogs. Any other things you have in your bet slip this weekend for the PLL that you're really loving, or even you're like, stay away from this entirely because this is just fish?
I would say one game to stay away from, and this was the hardest game for me to write about, was Cannons versus Chrome. It's a tough game to kind of call here because when the Cannons are bad, they are bad. They lost 20-9 in Long Island. But at the same time, the argument's made, they still covered, which was 24.5 goals, albeit in a really bad way to cover, losing 20-9, but you still covered the 20. Still covered 24. Cannons Chrome is too volatile because you're either going to get a game that's going to explode in offense, or you're going to get a game that has like 17 goals tops. Because the Cannons have played in less than 20 goal games. They've also played in 29 goal games. The Chrome last week had a 31 goal game against the Water Dogs in a 7-14 shootout. At the same time, they also played a very, very dull, I think, 21 goal game in week 2. And that's not 21 from them. That's 21 total. So it's tough to call that game because both teams are very volatile. And like you said, every week it's a new PLL season pretty much.
Yeah.
Right now it's 2 teams that, they can cover anytime they play. But 2 weeks ago it was, 2 teams that struggle to hit the cover. So watch out for that game. Little tricky to call there. Yes, the Cannons have Lyle Thompson, but he has a lingering injury. So if he doesn't play, the offense really won't play well. If he plays, there's a chance the offense plays well. A lot of question marks around it, and just a little bit too risky to try to make a call on that game.
So last question then for the PLL, and it's going to be a completely loaded one that I don't expect you to answer correctly, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Who's going to win the PLL championship?
Whip Snakes, baby. I'm a Whips fan.
You're a Whip Snakes fan. All right.
I even cashed in before they played Atlas. Their line was adjusted to plus, I think, 500 for, outright win the title. Threw like $20 on that. After the game, their line jerked up to to really good odds because they beat the Atlas handedly. Like they covered, they clutched the over, and they got money line. Like they pulled out a straight trifecta. So I was like, I cashed at the right time. No one believed in them, and now they did.
Yeah, what are they sitting at? 2-1 on the season? 3-0,
baby.
All right, go Whip Snakes.
Go Whips.
They have a good shot. They play the Redwoods. They get things going today at on ESPN2 at 6:30 p.m. That should be a fun one. Redwoods are 1-2.
They just got their first win last week because they had a bunch of dudes on injury, and now people are starting to come back. So Redwoods are a sneaky team. Watch out a little bit for them. They're a sneaky team. They like to keep games low score. I'll touch on this really quick. Whipsnakes, Redwoods, under. These are two teams that like to keep it low. They've only cost 23 goals once. The Whipsnakes have yet to have a game where it's combined for 23 goals. The line's set at 22. Frankly, this is a lot safer because you know it's going to be a low-scoring defensive affair with the Redwoods trying to play conservative because there's still guys injured, and the Whipsnakes just liking to take their time on offense. It's a 52-second shot clock. They're going to use 50 seconds of it.
Awesome. Well, I think that sums up everything we have going on for the PLL this week. You can check out all of Max's written stuff on drf.com/sports. PLL Week 4 previews live there. Before you get up on out of here, your Stanley Cup Game 5 previews also live there. I'm not gonna make you talk about it because I'm not gonna talk about this game much because personally, I think the Avalanche have the chance to win this at home, win the Stanley Cup, bring it back home after 20 years. It's 20 plus years it's been away. The last time they won it was with like the trio of Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg or whatever that
work. Yeah, a bunch of guys who are now Hall of Famers.
Yeah, it just casually. So before I break down that game more, I just want to get your quick pick. Do you have any faith in the Lightning pushing this to a Game 6?
I have small faith in the Lightning just because John Cooper coaches a good team. They've come back before against the Rangers, and they needed to do that on the road, and they did. So that's why I'm a little nervous about Game 5. I'm not really touching it. The only thing I'd touch is maybe go on the over. Every game's produced about 7 goals, over set at 6. You're going to sweat it. I'll be honest, you're going to sweat, but they'll sneak one in the third or overtime to make it 7, but there will be a little sweat involved.
I've stupidly bet the under in all of the games so far. Because in my mind, I'm like, it's the Stanley Cup Finals. These goalies are going to play out of their mind good. I'm one of 3 on because the under just hit this last game barely. So that it started off well. Avalanche were up 3-1 in game 1. I was like, all right, what one more goal? This is easy. And then all of a sudden, they win 4-3 in OT. And I was like, okay. And then from there, I just was like, I got to keep going with the under. At this point, I'm 0 for 4 yesterday. You should just fade me because go with Max on the over because that might be the play.
You're at home. Colorado likes to score in bunches at home. And I'll throw this out there for anyone listening. In 8 home games this postseason, the over has hit 5 times for them at home.
I love that's a fantastic stat. That's what we brought you on for, those fun nuggets. You also, what was the other nugget? First time that there won't be an S in the team name?
Yeah, first time in the Stanley Cup. At least in the modern era, not, like the 1907 Stanley Cup, but the modern era, like the original 6 and previous. This is the first time both teams don't have an S in their name in the Stanley Cup.
See, these are the insights we need. These are the insights that help us figure out who's the winner, who's the loser, and how we're going to make money. So thank you so much, Max, for coming on. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully all of those bets hit.
Hey, let's hope, man. Let's hope. Go Whips.
Fingers crossed. Thank you. Thank you again to Max for coming on to DRF Daily. It was a fantastic breakdown, breaking down all things Premier Lacrosse League, giving his little insights into the Stanley Cup. I don't know if I fully agree with all of that because I'm an under guy in the Stanley Cup, but clearly that hasn't worked out for me. It's worked out for Max going on the over. I also really like the Lightning in this one. And this is also our featured free game of the day. You can find all of this information on drf.com/sports. Just click the game of the day tab up in the top right corner, and you can find all of this information, exclusive betting angles, line movements. We'll break down every single key injury. And you can even check out Max's his game preview where he shares some of his best bets, explains why the Lightning can win, explains why the Avalanche can win. And in my humble opinion, our simulator thinks it, our power line thinks it. The Avalanche are the play in this one. Not a lot of value in the Avalanche. There's a lot of money, and they've come down from, I think they opened at like minus 150, minus 140. They're all the way down to minus 175 now. So a lot of people are thinking that the Avalanche are going to be winning this game. Or power line makes it closer to about minus 113. However, our game simulator likes the Avalanche to win 3-2. So it gives the edge to Colorado, but it gives the edge to Tampa Bay to cover the spread. And it gives the edge on the under. But like Max said, at Colorado, the over has hit 5 of 8 times at home. They like to score in bunches when they're at home, and this is an opportunity to really flex their muscle and win the Stanley Cup for the first time in a really long time on home ice. So give me Colorado to win this game. The only thing that's going in Tampa Bay's favor, and it's not even a good rating according to our data. Tampa is 9-1 against the spread in road games after failing to cover 3 of their last 4 over the last 2 seasons. 9-1 against the spread when they failed to cover 3 of their last 4 the last 2 seasons. That's really the only thing that's favoring Tampa Bay. Everything else is favoring Colorado. They're 16-1 against the spread this season against good goalies. So that's they're saving 91.5 or more percent of shots on goal. The Avalanche have been able to feast on good goalies. They are one of the best, if not, I mean, clearly they are so far the best team in the NHL with a 3-1 series lead. Give me the Avalanche to win this game, bring back the Stanley Cup on home ice. I don't see this game going back to Tampa. Colorado has just been a real dominant team, and game 4 was just kind of a blip on the radar. Just you go back home. Game 3, excuse me. Game 3 was just a blip on the radar where you lose 6-2. I think you just come home. Tampa Bay's feeding off the crowd. That was no indication of what's to come. Colorado, clear-cut, better team. Give me them to win. So thank you so much for tuning in to DRF Daily. Thank you again to Max Sacco for taking some time out of his morning to talk some Premier Lacrosse League best bets week 4 there in Baltimore. We got 2 games in the PLL tonight, 2 games tomorrow. All of his best bets can be found at drf.com/sports. Just hit the betting insights up at the top, and you can find his betting preview for PLL. You can also find his betting preview for Stanley Cup Game 5. He's on the over a little bit, but he said he wasn't giving any best bets. He thinks he's a little bit cold right now, so I won't say that's any best bets. The best bet really for today is going to be, I'm going to go on, who did he say? Water Dogs at plus money. I like the Water Dogs. I'll go with him there. I'll go with the Archers too over the Atlas. So those are my 2 best bets in the PLL, just piggybacking off of what Max said, 100%. And my best bet's going to be the Avalanche to win outright, minus 175. Not a lot of value. Maybe sprinkle the over a little bit. I'd lean it. Of course, now that I'm going with the over, the under is going to hit because that's just how that works. But thank you so much for tuning in to DRF Sports Daily. We'll be back Monday, 11 a.m. with more information, more best bets, and hopefully more winners after a tough 0-4 day. It's time to bounce back this Friday and bounce back next week. I have a good feeling. See you guys on Monday. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.